Folks, it is episode 149 of the Wise Old Owl Show. I'm Vince Gaetano, and boy, we got a lot to talk about. Things are just getting a little bit out of control. It seems like all levels of government are scrambling to figure out what to do. And it is just unbelievable to me that to this date, knowing that there's a housing crisis upon us and winter is coming, that these levels of government have not gotten together to form an emergency crisis committee to deal with housing. You know, we have the mayor of the largest city in Canada, in Ottawa this week, hat in hand, looking for money to deal with the refugee crisis, to deal with transit problems, to deal with childcare and affordable housing. The cities got a $1.5 billion deficit, and they can't focus on what is a priority, nor how are they going to solve this housing crisis. It's a disaster. The provincial government in Ontario dealing with the Greenbelt fiasco and the aftermath of that. It seems that that's all they're going to talk about, and there will not be a shovel in the ground anytime soon because they're dealing with the political pressure of the NDP, who will probably not let this issue go. And in all fairness, as we suspected, there won't be any homes built. They just won't be built. And then we have the federal government that is just embarrassing the hell out of our country on a global stage by offending every country out there. And folks, I don't know how we're going to solve this problem. But on top of all that, the bond market rallies. The bond market broke through that resistance point of 4.18 and went up as far as 435, 437. It subsided a little bit, settled this afternoon at about 432 on the bond market, which is pushing all the lenders to increase rates over the next few days. And we're going to continue to see rate hikes probably through to the end of the year, both on the fixed rate side and the variable side. Folks, this is not boding well for anybody that's looking at renewing their mortgage in the latter part of this year and going into the next quarter. We're now seeing 5-year fixed rates in the 6.5 range. Some of the shorter terms pushing close to 7. And that's just not good. That's not good for qualification purposes. It's not good for those renewing their mortgages and looking down the barrel at increased interest costs that probably weren't anticipated and planned for. And the reality is everybody got drunk on cheap rates. It's getting to a point where we're seeing a lot of people under strain, frustration, anxiety, trying to figure out how they're going to cope. And we're seeing just a very dejected group of folks that are dealing with this massive increase to their cash flow as they come to terms with these higher rates. So what does all this mean? It means that the market will slow down. We are probably in a recession. You know, we're a couple days away from the end of the third quarter. Chances are we're going to see negative growth, and it's going to put us into a technical recession, but we're already there. Things are just starting to crack. And I wish I was the bearer of good news. And unfortunately, I don't have any. I really don't. What I will tell you is that Nick Nanos, he's a pollster. I think he's with Abacus, I'm not sure, but he was just on a post on CTV. I think he does a segment called Trend Lines. He indicated that Canadians have very negative sentiments. They were asked what do they think of their finances, and 51.6% indicate that they're going to be worse off over the next little while, and that's an increase of about 7.3% in the last 4 weeks. So we're starting to see folks really feel it now that the kids are back in school. Costs are going to start being more prevalent going into the holiday season, both Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's going to be tight, and I joke about it, but it's really not a joke. But this Thanksgiving, around the table, there's going to be a few people asking for help. And you know what? If you have the resources to give anybody a hand, please do so, because there's a lot of people hurting. And some suffer in silence, some will talk about it. But if you have the resources and the capabilities to lend a helping hand, I would encourage you to please do that. So it's going to be a challenge. CMHC's economist came out this week in an article, and he indicated he's very concerned about the sluggish pace of housing starts in Canada. We have a 3.5 million home gap that's required by 2030 to address the affordability crisis. And the high interest rates is causing some distress to developers to build these. Things have started to slow down on the new home starts. And I don't know if they're necessarily building the right type of homes. We're seeing a lot of condo completions, but on the single family front, there is a significant lack of them going up to help those families that need homes. Like, you can't put a 4-person family in a 500 square foot condo. It's just impossible. It's difficult to have 2 people live in 500 square feet, let alone 4 with people running around. So they're really concerned. Like, this 3.5 million home gap, I don't know how they're going to make it up. Like, you hear the feds announce, a fund for building of rentals, but is that what we've come to? Do we have to now set our standards to just being a tenant? We need homes. People who come here, and the majority of the growth in population comes from immigrants. They come here wanting to be a homeowner. They don't want to be a tenant, okay? And if we're not building new homes and providing infrastructure assistance and putting money into building the support services for communities to deal with the growth, this is going to be a shit show. Like, folks, it's now, 13 years, 14 years that we've been waiting for a crosstown LRT in Toronto. Like, the city just announced, or Metrolinx just announced, that they can't even provide a completion date. This is a gong show. This is just incompetence at the highest level. And it's all levels of government. There's no accountability, okay? And we have to come together as citizens and demand better. We need to demand more accountability. We need action. We need execution of plans. And you got to stop the gravy train. Like, 13 years to build a line. This is supposed to be ready in 2020. Like, I'm hearing stories about, the tracks on this line weren't properly set, and you can't, like, they were misinstalled. They're off by whatever centimeters, inches for these trains to run. Some of the stations flood when it rains. Like, who the fuck planned this stuff? Like, who are these architects and engineers that designed this thing that can't even drain properly? Like, I don't know what's true, what isn't, but the fact is it's not ready. Like, this has become a bit of an embarrassment. And, they want to build more homes, but we got no transit. The traffic in the city is absolutely disgusting. Like, it takes an hour to go anywhere. And, this city is not functioning properly, folks. It has become a real concern. And when people talk about affordable housing and increasing the density, you need infrastructure to support it. And we just don't have it, okay? And listen, I've been down at St. Mike's Hospital too many times over the last few weeks. Everything went well with my dad's surgery, so I'm blessed and thankful for that. But seeing the encampments, seeing the homelessness, seeing the mental health issues that are prevalent on our city streets is alarming. It's very alarming. And my dad, he's 90, hadn't been downtown in years. When he saw this, he was like, what the hell is going on? What happened to our beautiful city? And he was embarrassed. And he was worried at 90 years old. And, unfortunately, he doesn't have to go down there on a regular basis. But when somebody hasn't seen that in a long time and knows how great the city was at one time, it's very disappointing and disheartening. And unfortunately, I'm told this isn't the only city going through this. It's all over the country. Homelessness, refugees living on streets. So what are the gatekeepers doing? How are they managing this? This has become a shit show. Okay, so let's talk about population growth. Okay, we're expecting 900,000 international students this year, and there's plans and targets to hit 1.4 million a year by 2027. Now, where the fuck are they going to live? Okay, like, you know, and what people need to understand, okay, is that the tuition revenue generated for Canada. I just got this number from somebody out, she's a UK, she tracks this stuff. Her name is Charlotte Littlewood. Okay, she had this post on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And she said that the Canadian tuition revenue in a year is about $22.3 billion. It exceeds Canada's largest export, which is auto parts, which is at $19.2 billion. 76% of this revenue, okay, so let's call it, 16 million bucks, okay, comes from international students. Well, 43 to 47% are Indian, and we just fucked up that relationship because our federal government is just terrible in diplomacy. Folks, we got to really buckle down, okay? Because without any accountability, I can't see this improving anytime soon. Like, housing's not going to get built. Like, the Greenbelt just put a dent into any hopes of seeing any new growth in the burbs. Now, okay, there's room in the cities. That's what everybody says. Nothing gets built in the cities. Our transit system's a disaster. You can't build any infrastructure. Like, every road's under construction, and it takes 6 times the amount of time that it should. So I don't know what the answer is, but we all have to stand up and ask for better. We need more accountability, and if they're not doing their job, we got to vote these fuckers out, because quite frankly, it's an embarrassment. It really is. And seeing the despair and frustration in people's voices every day about not seeing what's coming, feeling that Bank of Canada let them down and promised them this and promised them that and said rates are going to be low for it. Like, people also got to take some responsibility too, but they just feel defeated because they don't see any action on any level of government, of any fiscal responsibility. And, the theme that I hear is, well, why do I got to do it? No one else is doing it, right? So maybe it's got to start from the top. Maybe everybody's got to buckle down and start cutting and start realizing that, you know what? You got to lead by example. Let's cut the spending. Let's get rid of some of these stupid taxes that aren't really benefiting anybody. Like, I'm sorry, but this carbon tax has just created a significant drain on people's budgets at the grocery stores. And if you want to chase grocers, God bless you. It's not going to work because it's a whole supply chain issue, okay? And there's a lot of things broken, and we need to fix them, okay? I don't know if there's a magic bullet. I don't know if there's something specific, but collectively, we just got to ask for better. The same old doesn't work. So hopefully we could get through that. We're seeing a lot of the toys go. If you want to go on MLS and you want to take a look at what cottage country looks like, you're going to see more listings than there ever was as more and more people start realizing that second home isn't going to cut it. And we're seeing more listings. A lot of waterfront homes up for sale. The toys are going. The used Porsche tracker, as you all know, I track every week, has hit 1,252 this week. It's up about 27 from last week. So we're starting to see people starting to budget, people starting to realize, I got to get rid of some toys, cash in the chips, really start buckling down. And it's become prevalent amongst every household that is in this scenario. And listen, not everybody is in this situation. Not everybody has a mortgage, but I do know that people that don't have mortgages are worried about their kids and their grandchildren, okay? Because They're seeing how difficult it is to make it and buy a home and build a good life for their families. And they're concerned too. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what's going on. And I hope the city starts cracking down on Airbnbs, okay? Because we're starting to see people cut corners. They're not adding to the rental supply. They're doing a lot of Airbnbs. And I hope the city can clamp down on that, but there's no resources to do it. Like, it's all on a, somebody files a complaint, they act on it. But as far as being proactive in that space, I don't think anybody's doing it. So that's creating some problems as well. But I think that party's going to end as disposable income is reduced throughout North America, and we're going to start seeing that recession kick in. We'll see you next week for episode 150. Take care.